Hi. Well, here we are back again for the last 3/4 of an hour of a Monday morning. Blue hat, Monday blues. Well, it hasn't been too bad, but all in all, just a bit stressful. Always is when the help doesn't turn up. Never mind. Let's soothe ourselves with some music again, and the second part of uh, voices, and it's won't take us long, I don't think, to voices, second half of voices. Here we go. I look a bit uncomfortable because I'm propped up against the pulpit while I'm doing this, and sometimes you can see the beauty of the church in the background, and sometimes you've just got my shoulders, and that's a pity, really. But I will show some pictures of St. Michael's as we go along in this program. It was my wife's favourite church. She was very active in it, and sadly, she departed from us about 3 years ago, and we had a requiem mass here. And it was a magnificent occasion, a quite wonderful service. But mostly, the church was lit up by flowers, wonderful, wonderful flowers. And here are just a little look at some of them before we go to our next artist, and that is the Lewes Singers. The Lewes Singers, directed by Nick Houghton, who is the director of music here and plays the organ each Sunday, but also organises magnificent concerts in this church, really worthwhile coming to. There was an organist before him who also sadly passed away called Don Bishop, who was still playing the organ at age 90 for the Lewes Old Grammar School, who hold their assemblies in this church. And Don could make that organ sing, and it's good to now that we've got Nick to follow on, because he makes it sing as well. So let's listen to some of the music that he directs with the Lewes Singers.
Yes. Chance to see. I'm actually pulling it out a little bit. Not a free will. Okay. Once again. Tomorrow. Let's try it. Tomorrow. 1, 2, 3.
Tomorrow shall be my dancing day. I put my true love.
Okay. Dancing day. Sing day. Later. Dancing day. Okay. Once again. Tomorrow. 2, 3, 4.
Tomorrow shall be my dancing day. I put my true love.
That was perfect. That was the first time. Tomorrow. Second verse. What are the words? Then was I born. 1, 2, 3.
Then was I born of the virgin pure. Of her I took fleshly substance. Thus was I knit to that age of two. For my true love, to my God sing. Oh my love, oh my love, my love, my love is survived. And for my true love.
Some of you who are new to Mirador may be slightly bemused about Sir Genry and Edward Stick. Here's Edward Stick in all his finery, although when he's in mufti he looks a bit rawer than that, made of pure wood. Edward Stick is my stick that I use when I walk around the Priory. I have Parkinson's, and there are a number of other worthy people who have Parkinson's: Billy Connolly, Michael J. Fox, Kid Jensen, the Radio 1 DJ in the 70s and the 80s, and Neil Diamond declared that he got it the other day too. There are a number, and of course Muhammad Ali was probably the most famous person to have it. So it strikes the very famous, except that it struck me, and I'm not very famous at all. But I think one of the things that you have to do is to keep going. You have to keep a good sense of humour, a good determination to do things. That's why you've got this awful television program. And that way, there is a way towards helping people with Parkinson's. There is another way that we've discovered, and that is that there's something in champagne that helps with Parkinson's. And I have started to try and persuade the NHS that they should give us Dom Perignon on prescription. Haven't got very far yet, but write to them and say, champagne for Hayes, help with Parkinson's. Okay, here we go, again with Dandelion Charm.
And he said, sing, canary, sing. If you're good, then I might let you in to thing. Sing, canaries, sing. My hatred caresses your skin.
I'm going to go back to another song from the Lewes singers now before we finish off with Ivan. And I should tell you about this church. Tom Paine was married in this church, and lots of people say, who's Tom Paine? Not well known here, although very well known in the United States, because he actually is credited with starting the American Revolution. He was here as a customs agent. He was married in this church and wrote something called The Rights of Man in Lewes, and then went off to the United States and practiced it, and they loved it. Bill Bryson, the historian, says that Tom Paine coined the term the United States, and also that he said we should be governed, when we were actually governed by royalty at that particular time, that there should be a place called the House of Commons. Well, those are two names that ring a bell, aren't they? And Tom Paine was married here. I don't think he's a very nice man, actually, but nonetheless, a very powerful man. And he managed to get things going so that there was indeed a revolution of several sorts in both the UK and in the US. Anyway, we're going to the Lewes singers now, and I hope you enjoy. I've been a journalist most of my life. I've been in Northern Ireland for 15 years at the height of the Troubles. I went to Kosovo and spent a couple of years, and in Sarajevo for a year, and in Bucharest for a year in Romania. I've been to Russia. I've been all over practicing journalism and training journalists. So I'm a bit of a wanderer, and you meet awfully nice people when you're going going around the world, and two of the nicest were Mary and Clive Shorthouse, who lived in Lewes but now live in New Haven. And Clive really is one of the most eccentric people I've ever come across, and he's just lovable. And the family have looked after me for a good many years, and very kind they are. But Clive and I once had a cake in our care for a raffle, and we decided to try it, and we scoffed the whole lot, only to be told by the lady who had donated the cake that she would want to see the thing raffled. So we had to scout around Lewes looking for a cake that looked vaguely like the one that we'd scoffed, and we couldn't remember really what it was like. Anyway, that's Clive. But the one thing that Clive and Mary do have is they have three very talented daughters. Fleur is a storyteller, a professional storyteller, a very good one. Charlotte is a classical singer, and Claire, with John, is dandelion charm. So there you are. That is the Shorthouse family. They're almost like the Von Trapps. Let's get on with it, and now let's hear the last word from Yeva.
Cister peres bարձրացնում Տալիս ես թևեր, որ թրջեմ ինչպես արծիվը Գութը քո հավերժ է Տեր Սերը քո մեծ անսահման է
cooling down for this last little bit, but after all, it is church, isn't it? So just to end this evening's musical extravaganza, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's not something we will do regularly, but we're going to do it from time to time because there's a lot of musical talent in Lewes. So, yeah, just to say goodbye, and I'm glad that you joined us. By the way, this is Edward Stick in mufti. For those who haven't followed Edward Stick and Sir Genery. Sir Genery, by the way, I don't think I explained earlier, is the sculpture of a medieval helmet of a knight that fought in the Battle of Lewes in 1264. And we've named him Genery, or Sir Genery, because in those days the name John and Henry were prevalent, so we've combined them to call him Genery. He's got his own Facebook page, he's got his own fan club, and he presents his own programme on Mirador. So I hope that you'll visit Sir Genery and perhaps understand who he is, because he talks regularly about Lewes history to Edward Stick. Edward Stick, Esquire. There he is. Okay, well that's it. One thing I can now depart. I'm going to put my hat back on. Feel almost undressed without it. I'll say cheerio. Toodle-pip. Well, I hope you enjoyed that collection, if you like, of music. Not top 40, God forbid. We would certainly not have top 40 music. Well, we're very Catholic in our taste, but my guess is that the people who view Mirador are not top 40 people necessarily. So that was music just associated with us, one way or another, with a few stories to be able to go around them. Now it is it's 10:41 and 10:40, and we've still got a little while to go. So I'm going to spend 10 minutes just chatting about the insides of the newspapers. For those of you who aren't up as early as you should be, tut. Is this morning there was almost every newspaper, all bar two, had a scandal brewing at the BBC, where a well-known presenter, unnamed so far, paid exorbitant amounts of money, £30,000 plus, to a young underage person to be able to take explicit photographs, sexual photographs. So the BBC is involved in a sex scandal. And not only that, but it's also under fire because it knew about these things in May, but didn't take the presenter off air until July, till this month. So, of course, everybody is up in arms. And so the BBC is right at the heart of another sex scandal. What a hotbed of sex it is. I wasn't aware of all this when I worked there. I wasn't sexy enough. Anyway, that was the main headline story. But if you actually, is to use the well-worn phrase, they're all at it. And not only is the BBC culpable, but also, if I can just get my little mouse working, is on the inside pages. We've got the church still involved, and there were promises a couple of years ago that nothing like the sex scandal involving, strange enough, the Bishop of Lewes should be should ever occur again. And they set up a watchdog. Well, the story on the inside of the mail this morning, and the inside of most of it is, let's see. No, I can't find these photographs. It says the system leaves a lot to be desired, and I find it particularly difficult myself to handle it. And so, as a consequence, you got me see me farting around, trying hard to put things in perspective for you, and I'm afraid I just fail miserably. But let me get on to the inside of the paper then, if you don't mind looking at my new hat. I hope you admire my new hat. Actually, it's on the screen. It shows up as rather a demure blue in real life. It's rather a startling purple. I love it. I haven't had a new hat in a long time. The other battered one, believe me, the one that's been around the world half a dozen times, is still there. It will still be used, but I thought just a change as good as a rest. Now, the Archbishop of York has admitted that the Church of England has failed in its attempt to set up a clergy abuse watchdog. The Most Reverend Stephen Cottrell said the establishment of the Independent Safeguarding Board, intended to hold the church to account following a series of scandals, had gone wrong. Oh, surprise, surprise. And he revealed that the church has had to refer the debacle to the charity commissioners. It came after the church sacked the 3 members of the ISB, that's the Independent Safeguard Board, following claims it had tried to obstruct their work. And that included refusing to share data with them. The Archbishop told a meeting of its governing body, the General Synod, we can no longer think that we can deliver these things ourselves. Not only do we need independent oversight and scrutiny of safeguarding, we need independent help in deciding how best to do it. I can't tell you how sorry I am that it has taken this long for us to see it with clarity. We referred this to the Church Charity Commission, an acknowledgement that we recognize things have gone wrong and there are things to learn. Steve Reeves, one of the sacked ISB members, said, when the Archbishop's Council talks about independence, they do not mean it in the way the average person on the street means independence. They mean semi-detachment. When they talk about trust, what they mean is obedience. The panel set up in 2021 last month published its first review into the way the church handled one abuse victim's case. Well, of course, the church has always had sexual scandals hanging over its head. It doesn't matter what denomination you're talking about and which country you're talking about, for that matter. It has not been particularly good. I made the comment at the start of this program that we, one way or another, it was establishment organizations which seem to find that they have sexual abuse amongst them, and other organizations. Well, actually, that's not true. I take it back because the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry, is in turmoil. Whether in fact it's still going is open to debate. I haven't seen a report on it in the last day or two. But they also had sex scandals. And it would seem that whether we were talking about Parliament, whether we were talking about the church, whether we're talking about the institutions, it's all sexual abuse issues that keep on resurfacing, no matter what they say they're doing to stop it. And if you want to look at the business and industry generally, it's the same sort of story. Is they'll laugh and giggle about the boss chasing the secretary around the desk is plainly true. And whatever you do is sex seems to be at the heart of a lot of things. Now, I ask this question: have we actually become less tolerant of some of these practices, so that even the wink of an eye or a wolf whistle becomes unacceptable? Is it that the standards have changed, or is it that we suddenly have in these institutions the revelation that they've been a lot of randy sods for a number of years? It is difficult just to say, and I have to say that I have some sympathy with those people who get caught in the sexual thing, because there are people who are of my age where what was amusing, acceptable in 1965, 66, 1975, 76, 1985, 86, was perfectly okay then, but would not be today. So is it that perhaps the bar has been raised too high? When it all comes down to it, sexual urge is just a natural process of the human body, human psyche. And the people will give way to it almost every day. Not almost every day, every day. And then suddenly some of them find themselves in a mess. Okay, all right. I'm not for one moment defending sexual abuse. It patently needs to be dealt with. But certainly there is a difference between a presenter paying £30,000 plus to a youngster to have naughty, dirty photographs taken of him. That's a bit different to the secretary who doesn't get too offended by some sexual references from the boss. It's a very difficult and murky issue, just the same as gender issues have become murky and difficult to handle. As once again, I ask the question: is it we're getting too fussy? Have we become less tolerant, or not at all tolerant, of sexual practice? Is it that some things that would have been okay yesterday are not okay today? Don't know. Another item is it doesn't matter what happens, there's always a downside to it. Warmer springs are causing British bees to wake up earlier, threatening the pollination of crops, such as apples and pears. Wild bees, such as bumblebees, emerge from their nests on average of 6.5 days earlier for every 1 degree centigrade rise in temperature caused by climate change. Well, we've had a very warm spring, haven't we, and an entry to summer. So it would appear that the old bumblebees are waking up early and then not going about their business. It's one of those things that we never think about. So if, in fact, you find that you're starved of apples in the autumn, it's all the fault of this warm spring and the effect it has on bumblebees. Beautiful things, bumblebees. Totally harmless to us. It's the wasp, the aggressors. And bumblebees are beautiful creatures. I mean, that plump little body. Unlike the sleek curves of the wasp, and humming and buzzing along the hedgerows and the byways and in the flower gardens. It's wonderful. It's wonderful indeed. Now, getting back to the noughties, Biden flies in amid a row over US cluster bombs for Ukraine. Dear old Joe, he can't stay out of trouble. He simply can't stay out of trouble. He flew into the UK last night and straight into a row with Rishi Sunak over plans to arm Ukraine with the cluster bombs. Rishi and Joe are not seeing eye to eye about anything to do with NATO, but I think that Rishi is a bit pissed off with the US president for blocking his nominee for head of NATO. But if in fact they're going to disagree on basic things like cluster bombs, then you can understand why he blocked it, because he is arguably the US is the biggest, largest contributor to NATO. They are both going to the NATO summit in Lithuania this coming week. He's going to have a meeting with the King at Windsor Castle, and he'll hold talks with Rishi at number 10 Downing Street. Well, there are a couple of things. There's bad blood because of the block on the appointment of the Director General of the UN, and also the use of cluster bombs and one or two other issues as well. So the event risks being overshadowed by a split between the two major countries who held NATO together. So we can expect fireworks and some suggestions. Now let's see. Lucy Fraser says that she's happy well, I don't know if she's happy, but she met Tim Davie, the Director General of the BBC, to talk about the present scandal. Actually, whoever the author of this article was, certainly knows how to put the cat amongst the pigeons, because the photograph of Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser is a very sexy one. And since this is all about sex, the big problem is that a number of stars have all rushed to say, "It ain't me, girl. It ain't me." And as a consequence, of course, the first thing the end say is, "Why are they rushing to say it ain't me?" And let's see. The decision to take Lithgow presenting duties for Match of the Day must have come at the same stage, same time, and as a consequence, it's. I hear little footsteps behind me. Is anybody there who wants to talk to me? Or not? Never mind. We're within 3 minutes of ending. The last thing is there is an analysis on what laws the TV star could have broken, who is whoever it is the centre of the scandal. Open a criminal investigation. The allegations, if proved, could constitute several criminal offences, making, contributing, possession, or showing an indecent image of anyone under the age of 18 as a criminal offence, even if the image was created with the consent of the young person. It carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. Let's see, causing or inciting sexual exploitation of a child. And they should, when they came aware of the situation, the gravity of it, they should have contacted the police, apparently. But they are scandal at the BBC,
Sex raises its head again, and not in its dramas, and not in its reality games, but in real life, in the corridors of power, in the corridors of the state broadcaster. There we are. It's 10:58. We've had a number of problems, cancellations of presenters this week. And I think that we've got a cancellation again tomorrow. But on Wednesday, a full house with Stuart Dolby in conversation with, and Energy Matters, and we've got John Henty. And he's always good fun, good value for money. So that's it for today. And I hope that you've enjoyed the music that we had on offer. It was time that we actually played that program, and this morning was it, and it was appropriate that we should do. All right. So until tomorrow, let us say toodle pip. Yes, toodle pip.